click one little button over there. You're just going to tell howdy, everyone. And once you come online, tell us who you are, what you're doing. And I always like to hear, what are you committed to growing this year? Because we're talking about doubling your business. And I want to know what your commitment to yourself is. And you know what's funny is people have a hard time sharing this information. I don't know. Do you find that, Sabine, that people have a hard time sharing how much they want to grow?
You know, it is absolutely so true, because we're so afraid by saying it out publicly that we're then held accountable and then fail and not meet up to our expectations. But, you know, Brendon Burchard just shared on Oprah, the number one habit of high achievers is to be more expressive about what we really want in our lives. So please don't judge yourself. Don't be shy. Share your goals, even your highly ambitious goals, especially those, because it's about moving the energy. Because otherwise, if you don't express it, there's a good chance that you could procrastinate, you know?
Yeah, and you know what I found is when you're not or when you're afraid to really commit to something specifically, you know, because you're, like you said, you have the concerns about what if I don't make it, the likelihood of you actually making where you want to go goes way down. And so it's just a matter of saying, I commit to X amount of growth in my business. So for me, I'm committing to 100% growth this year. That's, you know, my plan. We did 20% growth last year. That was great. But where I need to be and what I need to do, that's 100% growth. But there's power in just sharing that. So I want everybody, do you have a percentage growth that you're looking for, Sabine?
No, not yet for this year. So I've had a year where I was tripling my business. Last year I didn't triple, but I would say, yeah, I kept increasing over the last couple of years. My goal for 2016 is to keep my income and work half. So for me, it's not an income pressure, but actually, how can I even have more fun in life and still, you know, meet all of my ambitions and my goals.
I think that's awesome. I love the make good money and work less model.
Hi, Denise. Hi there.
Howdy, Breaking Soon. Thanks for joining us. We're excited to have you. We are talking about, you know, how to double your business in 90 days. And we were actually talking about what your commitment was to grow your business. And, you know, I said 100%. And Sabine was like, you know what, I've tripled my business. I've doubled my business. I just want to maintain the same amount and work less.
Yes. 50%, that will do it for me.
You know, that's really what this is about, isn't it? It's about having a balanced kind of life. One that you can enjoy your business and still have fun on the other side. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you know, if you think about 50% getting the same results with 50% of the hard effort or the hard work, imagine what the universe can present to you for those other 50% that you make yourself available now. That's another way also to think of income. Sometimes income numbers can really scare people and shut them down, especially women that are still learning to speak into their value and their worth, right? And so, you know, that's another way to sort of reverse that a little bit, you know, if you're playing with the numbers.
You know, it's funny when you mentioned that. Brad Sugars is another mentor that I've had in the past, and he's a multi-billionaire. And he talks about the fact that he works for a week and he takes a week off. And he works for a week and he takes a week off, you know, because that's really that balance that he finds is good enough for his business soul and good enough for his personal soul to feel whole. And I think that's kind of one of those I talk about the entrepreneurship journey, but that's one of those upper areas of really being like you're satisfied with the financial. Now you got to bring everything back into balance.
Yes, you're so absolutely right. There's another truth in that sort of like switch, because many of you guys don't commit 100% of your energy when you're actually going for it. you have to be 100% committed. That it's sometimes really, really difficult to keep a balanced day. For me, I work much better if I sort of put the pedal on the metal and then also go offline, right? That kind of like sort of like on off. And that works a lot for entrepreneurs versus the 4 hours a day a week or something like that, you know?
Right. So we're talking about the ideal client. And I know, you know, with what you do with branding and working with people to really match up their soul to their brand and have it come together in a way that's financially beneficial for their business. You know, ideal client might seem like, why am I talking to Sabine about the ideal client? But I know you well enough to know, you know, why I have you on. I have all these ulterior motives. But I wanted to kind of dive in and talk about, you know, what is an ideal client to you and how you feel that really showing up, how you show up attracts those people.
I'd love to answer those questions. Can we backtrack just for a couple steps?
Sure.
Is that okay with you, Leslie?
Yeah.
So, you know, for everybody listening in, there are really two questions that all of the mentors, you know, I can really, you know, safely say all of the mentors out there, whether you hire a business mentor or a marketing mentor, you know, they all will ask you the following two questions. And what I have found with those two questions is that they are supposed to be providing you with the magic answers to your business breakthrough and success. And what I have found personally, and also in my client community, that the opposite is actually happening. These two questions, because they're almost impossible for especially women entrepreneurs to answer, are actually shutting your business success and growth down. So what are those two questions? The first question is, what is your niche? And the second question is, who is your ideal client? So of course, you know, you ask me, you know, this who's your ideal client question right off the get-go, because, you know, we're sort of like thinking about like, okay, we want to be in business with ourselves, we want to offer valuable services, we want to make a really good income, it needs to be a lucrative business model. So very, very quickly, the question comes to, what are we offering and who is our ideal client? Who are we offering this for, right? So that's this whole niche and ideal client, you know, discovery. And I mean, there's, like I said, countless business and marketing mentors that are basically honing into that very crevice. And here's what my perspective on it is. For soul-driven or soul-led women that are highly complex, multidimensional, beautiful, radiant soul beings, these two questions are like poison, because they're going to put you into a box you don't even know, in most cases, what it is that you want to offer or will be offering in the future. Most of my clients have absolutely no clue. And I know this sounds like very, very odd. Like, how can you go in business, you know, sort of with your soul's purpose if you don't know what you're offering? But that's actually really more and more and more the foundation these days, is that we make a decision to be in business with our gifts and skills without needing this, needing to sort of have it all be defined. So there is actually a tremendous freedom in not answering those questions, not having them stop you, because so many of you guys have been stopped because you didn't feel like you could answer those questions sufficiently.
You know, you bring up a good point. And both you and I have worked with some really big brands, you know, big companies, big brands, and niching is always that buzzword. And I try to explain to people that small business, you know, a lot of times all small business has to really reference to is big brands. Big brands need this kind of concept of niche in a lot of ways, because it's not about the person. It's about, you know, a corporate shield and identity and experience, whatever that is. But when you come down to small business and micro businesses and solopreneurs, it's all about you. It's all about you. And the only niche you really have is you. This is the dime you can stand on. This is who you can own. And when you own that process of it, you have no competition.
In fact, I'd like to even go further back. You know, why are we actually niching and what are we niching? So as a brander with 25 years of branding and marketing experience, I can tell you exactly what Leslie said. Niching is absolutely counterproductive and counterintuitive if you are especially a solo entrepreneur, if you are a mentor, coach, expert guide. It really has absolutely nothing to do with your business success. And here's why. When we're basically looking at branding and positioning a company, niching is the very, very last thing that we do. The very first thing that we must do is we must position the company, right? We must position the company. That's the number one step. How do we as branders and business strategists position a company? Well, we're looking at the vision of the founder. We're looking at the vision. So this has to do with this whole vision and mission exercise and the positioning. We're really not looking at like who are the ideal clients and the niches. We're looking at what the long-term perspective and the vision is of a company. Let's use Apple as an example, right? Steve Jobs' vision statement / mission statement back in the 90s was actually he wanted to revolutionize how humans interact with technology. He didn't have a mission statement like, Microsoft to be the fastest microprocessor in the world. His mission statement and vision statement was much, much greater. It was about a whole new relationship between technology and humanity. And out of that vision, he created the Apple brand. So first comes the vision. Out of that comes the naming, right? So that's when Apple, the brand and the company, was born. And Apple basically signified the pinnacle of this relationship between humanity and technology, right? So naming comes first. When you then have the name, with that, there's a lot of positioning practices that need to be taken in place. So that's when you really anchor your vision and your mission internally in the business organization and externally in the way the world sees you. And that takes all the effort in the beginning of a startup phase. You're really all about that vision, that naming, that positioning, and that branding to really get that root system anchored. So think of it a little bit like a bamboo tree, where you're really growing for the first 5 years into the ground. You may not really see a lot of growth on the surface, but it really is all about anchoring into your identity of who you are and why you're here and why you're doing what you're doing. That's all branding, naming, and positioning. Once that really stands, and it is an internal and external reality, right?
Right.
Then we're looking into messaging, and then we're looking into marketing. And then what are we marketing? We're marketing, niched programs, products, or services. So in the example of Apple, we can actually see that they weren't really, doing a lot of expansive things. In the very beginning, they were focused on universities, on schools, on high-end designers, right? They had a very, very clear market. Yes, that was niche, but it really was much more in alignment with their vision, and that was really the key thing. And they did a lot of deep technology development. And then when they were ready, they came out with the iPad and the iThis and the iThat. And now we have the Apple TV and the Apple Watch and all of those things. And these products have niched markets, okay? So the Apple TV user may be different from an iPhone user, may be different from an iPad user, what have you, So there you have all the different psychographics and demographics for the different products and services, right? That's niching. That's when niching is handy. But what most entrepreneurs don't understand is that you never, ever, ever want to niche yourself. Think of it this way. Steve Jobs has never niched his vision. No. He's never niched himself. It would be absolutely ridiculous to even attempt that because his vision was so much bigger than any one of his company's niches. Does that make sense, you guys?
Oh, it makes sense. It makes sense to me. And in a lot of ways, there's a lot of freedom in that because the vision and the clarity is so clear. and when you define these things, you can easily, I talk about having litmus tests in your business. When you've defined these things, that becomes a litmus test.
Exactly.
Have a product vision, you're like, oh my gosh, I could help this person. I could do this. And you check it against the vision. Oh yeah, it fits the vision, but maybe it's a subset clientele, or it's not who you do your one-to-one work. If you do services, it might be, somebody else that you would love to serve, but can't make as large of an investment, but you still want to do that. Is that your, main client? No, but it's a subset of,
Exactly.
And you can serve these people in great ways. Now, I want to let people know, in case, because I know when Sabine was talking, I felt the magnitude of that kind of vision work, and I could feel people really getting like, oh my gosh, that sounds like it takes so long. I gotta let you know, this woman can do it in a matter of weeks with you, which is what makes her so special. But when we get to really defining this vision, and really getting core into who you are so that you're the niche, not, oh, you're sharing something with us. What are you sharing with us?
I'm actually sharing the formula of order here.
Oh, fabulous.
So I want to show you actually where niching comes into place. So first we talked about positioning, which is the vision, right? Who am I and what am I here to do, which is all purpose, right? I'm in soul, and what's my purpose? Kind of like that's the whole idea behind soul purpose branding. Who am I? What I'm here to do? Purpose, purpose, purpose. That leads to positioning. Your purpose equals your positioning. Out of that, you create the name for your business, which is exactly what we did for Leslie, for you, your business rules, which is this like interesting thing of like it rules, and there's also business boundaries and rules that you have to set in place, right?
Right.
Out of once you have the positioning and the name, now you can do the visual thing. Now you can sort of have fun with wardrobe and colors and brands and logos and all of that visual stuff to really anchor that in. Mm-hmm. After that, and this is a really big aha for people. Once that stands, now you have a message. Do you guys remember it's actually messaging? Actually, I wanted to do messaging, and for messaging, so we have that consistent here. But you probably all remember, the messenger movement. It was very difficult for people to actually monetize their message. And that is the reason for that, you guys, is because they did not have the positioning and the naming and the branding. Because if you just have a message and you don't have that conversion platform, that Apple platform, you really don't, monetize on a sustainable way on your message. But when you are positioned, then the message makes sense, and it always brings the world back to you as the expert. Does that make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense. When, there's a bit of having to step forward as a part of this process, especially as solo entrepreneurs, is really having to step forward and be seen, in your business, isn't there? And that's really scary. Because I know even in my experience with you, I saw, I have my own fears. I saw other people have different kinds of fears, and really being able to kind of own that. But why is that the ownership of it so key for somebody to really have that translation into financial success in their business?
Absolutely, because people hire people now more than ever, because at this point we're at a place in the expert industry where all the formulas are practically available for free, more or less. Or people have already paid big bucks for them and still have to listen to all the downloads. So it really is not about the information anymore. It is truly about mentorship and role modeling and the sort of being in business and embodying success on a sustainable, real level that turns people really into a relationship with a mentor, right? So really, it has nothing to do with you niching your services. It has all to do with you taking a stand for who you are, what you're here to do, and owning that on that visibility, on that embodiment level, right? Because that is what creates leadership, trust, and that sort of know, like, trust factor that then people have, that people rely on, right? And so even more importantly, in today's busy, flooded, info marketing world, it will really make a difference in your business for you to really step into your embodiment, which has to do with the message, right? You are your message.
Yeah, you are your message.
And then just to complete this, so once we have that message, now we can also use this marketing, right? So because the marketing is not going to stick unless you have an overall message.
Mm-hmm.
But the overall message is not going to monetize, needs to monetization unless you have a brand.
Yeah.
So this is how it plays together. So with that message, you can now market. And market, it means relationship building. It means having a conversation, right? What we're doing now, this is part of marketing, part of having a conversation, part of being visible. And that leads then to niche services. So, for example, from this platform now, you could then basically say, I have the following 3 opportunities for you guys to work with, and that is a niche. That's when niche makes sense on the program and services level. But like I said, most people can't even get going with their business because they can't answer the who is your dear client and what is the niche question, and they're a total failure.
So if we get these things in, and here's where we're leading to in a lot of ways, I tell people that there's this client target, the ideal client target, and you're at the middle, which is what we've been talking about, right? Sabine, is about you, your purpose, your positioning, your branding, your message, your marketing, your niche, all of these elements that you've shared over with us in the chat box. And then that step out is the service that you provide. How are you helping people solve a problem? And you've kind of alluded to that with packaging and pricing and products in your Apple example, whether it's the iPod, the iPhone, the MacBook, whatever it might be, and who they're geared to. And kind of that next element is, and I think this is what's so important to me, and that one of the main messages I wanted to share with people is that when it comes to ideal client, it is not about chasing.
Yes.
It is not about hunting people down. It is not about shoving business cards in people's faces and going, you need me. None of this really works in today's market, or at least feels very disingenuous to me. But what it is about is attraction. And that's the easiest way. I talk about all the time that I'm about helping business owners learn how to work easier, work smarter, not harder. We had this conversation beginning of the show, and you were sharing, what your goal is about working smarter and easier, not harder. Well, that's really what this ideal client conversation is about. So many people are working harder, but not easier. And easier is about attraction. And when you're shining bright in your own space, you are your niche kind of thing. And like Sabine's been sharing, very soul purpose branding, then it's easy to attract, isn't it?
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more, Leslie. You said it so perfectly. To really sum it up for people. Really, don't worry about your ideal client. I have never concerned myself with having an ideal client. And my client community consists of wonderful people like Leslie, hundreds of wonderful souls that are all over the globe. So I feel like I could kind of go on a vacation trip with each and every one of them. I love them so much. They're all, in quote unquote, not only ideal clients, but really wonderful girlfriends and awesome human beings that I have the privilege to know. And I have never sat down and filled out an ideal client worksheet and sort of went about it in a cerebral way, because I'm all about being myself in my business, because nothing else is sustainable. Right? Nothing else is sustainable in the first place. So please don't worry about your ideal client. Really just go for your vision. Develop your own soul relationship in your business. Learn how to trust your intuition, and that creates that attraction that Leslie is talking about. And that creates that trust and that reputation that people really believe in you. Remember, there's only one thing that people will ever buy from you. And that is your belief in your own results. Let me say that one more time. It doesn't matter how you package your services and coaching things or whatever you're offering, and maybe you're offering a product, but ultimately, even if you, let's say, offer a weight loss product or some sort of nifty product or app, you know, there has to be a belief behind what this product or this service achieves, and you have to embody that. You have to believe that so strongly that you believe becomes something that other people can borrow from you. People always buy your belief in your success.
They do, don't they? And when you're wishy-washy and worried about it, then you don't give the vibe of trust. You know, you don't help other people feel very, very secure with, you know, their ability to do that, because everyone's just looking for, you know, they're looking for a little reassurance when it comes to a purchasing decision. They want to know they're making a good decision. And if you send up any red flags, it's gone.
There's another very important thing. Do we have the time? Can I get one more topic in there?
Yeah, let's go. Go for it. We don't have any questions yet. So guys, if you have any questions for Sabine, we've been talking about, you know, how to define your ideal client. And I know you're hearing some things that are a little different than be sure to.
They're very different.
They're very different.
Ideal clients, exactly. They come to you. They come to you naturally when you are yourself. Here's the thing that drives me crazy about ideal client, this ideal client conversation. I've been to many conferences where I could literally see this like programming in front of a person's face, where they would basically scan me and try to figure out if I'm in quote unquote an ideal client for them. So what you said, Leslie, you know, don't do that when you go to networking events. Don't look at like a person and try to judge them and stereotype them by what they may be wearing and, you know, and so on and so forth. Because I felt many times that these mentors that are so focused or experts or wannabe experts that are out there that are so focused on ideal clients that they're actually chasing their own tail. And they are the ones that cannot sustain business growth and income over many years, because they have a very sort of disconnected way to interact with people that is actually not respectful. There's also something very cynical about this ideal client conversation, because let's be honest, if your ideal client is a broken, confused woman, would you really want to work with her?
No.
Most ideal clients sort of like go for that six-figure, you know, lady that is, you know, confused but not broke. And that's that myth, that ideal client myth, is the confused and overwhelmed six-figure woman. And I tell you, she does not exist. She's a phantom. She's basically a result of this idiotic exercise around this ideal client thing. And we're all cynical because we all only want to serve, you know, pseudo-lucrative niches. And this is the newsflash that I have for you people, because I've never concerned myself with an ideal client. I have actually a full client practice of, in quote unquote, many non-ideal clients. I have school teachers in there. I have people in there that may have actually a hard time sort of, you know, they may be at the fringes of society, but I've made a difference in their lives. And they were able to come up with the investment to work with me because I gave them hope and a belief. And for that, I'm not only deeply grateful, but that's also very, very gratifying to be able to help people that are actually in a crisis versus chasing after a phantom ideal client that most likely isn't so pleasant to work with, even if you were to find her.
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of what you're saying in there that I really resonate with. And that's that part of, I think, the way people teach marketing is it's all about that demographic. You know, it's all about the woman, 35 to 54, college degree. And the one thing I have found to be a truth is it's not about a demographic. I mean, that's kind of helpful, but it's really about the psychographic. It's about how people think. And guess what? You can't tell how a person necessarily is thinking by looking at what they're wearing.
Exactly.
And by making that kind of a judgment. So
you know, I come from Europe, so so when I dress in quote unquote professionally, I do look a little bit like I could go to Burning Man or so. Taylor, I love you. I love you. Very, very cool. I love the thumbs up, babe. So I have oftentimes, and then I have this accent, right? So I've oftentimes, really watched people kind of like write me off as somebody that you may not be able to take seriously. And it's just something so sweet about that type of comeback, So I really want to encourage everybody to really just get real with people. People really can feel that if you're looking for that pseudo lucrative niche and don't take them seriously. And you would be surprised that when you offer a real good service that people need, about the creative ways that they can come up with money, right?
Yeah.
So really just don't let the exercise, derail you in terms of who you're called to work with. Even if it looks like you may be called to work with teenagers, you may be called to work with single moms.
Yeah.
You may be called, when you really follow your soul purpose, like when you really take that seriously. Look at, for example, Lisa Nichols. She was working with in the gang district of LA with drug addicts and all sorts of people that were at the outskirts of society. And now she's like, got her own TV show going on. I mean, follow your purpose. Don't judge people. Give them a chance and be real. And this idea client thing is a total myth. Totally.
It's really interesting. You bring this up, and it reminds me of a story that I had with a client. And I talk to people all the time about when it comes to growing your business, there's certain things that we do to shut down business. And sometimes it's really holding tight onto this ideal client model because we've determined that who we're ever talking to is not the ideal client.
Yeah. Are you my ideal client? Are you my ideal client?
Yeah. And we're looking for red flags. Now we were talking about attraction. Your whole job of your marketing and your branding and your messaging is to stand so strong that you really are attracting people that you want to work with. That's that pre-qualification. So by the time they get to you, it's really about fine-tuned talking. You should, your marketing and your branding and all the messaging should be so strong, so consistent that you're attracting the right people. So by the time that you're qualifying, we're talking short list, right?
Yeah.
How many people would you say if, because I know your marketing is so super strong in this, but that are calling and reaching out with you, how many of them are just a no possibility? They're just a bad fit when you're talking to people?
This is such a good question. I love it because I do track everything in my business. So I have a lot of discovery sessions. And so last year I had over, I think it was 120 discovery sessions. Right now I don't have the numbers, but it's in my report. And so I can see exactly how many were converting. And you don't want to necessarily convert all of the discovery session conversations because then that's an indication that you may not be priced properly. And you don't want to have something for, like a one size fits all kind of thing. But you do want to, I think 50% is a pretty healthy number. And I don't like to convert less than 50% because then it eats up my personal time and energy. Spend a good generous hour with the person on the phone. But I am right exactly in that sweet spot. It is my number one way to convert is basically just putting myself out there and then having these conversations. And I just recently, in the last week of December, I had another, 5-figure week. Wasn't even planning on it because I had 2 or 3 conversations that happened just before Christmas. In that week before Christmas, I was kind of like throttling down into holiday mode. And here was another 5-figure week for me at the end of the year because these conversations were immediately leading to yeses because of the relationship and the rapport that's already established.
So, that's good marketing, right? And then when you're moving in, and we were talking about a couple of things, but when you're having these conversations, you're shortlisting people. And honestly, you're on your caller or your potential client's shortlist too. It's really about, can you connect? I tell people with the work I do and I know with the personal nature of the work you do, we're going to be dating. We're going to be hanging out a lot. We really need to be able to know that we can communicate and we can connect.
And that we need to like each other. Here's another really big piece in this connection, and since we're talking about connection, think long term, you guys. My conversion cycle is a good 2 years.
That's a long conversion cycle.
My conversion cycle for the most of them, I mean, for some are immediately, right there. But for many of them, they're in my circle for a good year plus, sometimes 3 years. So you have to really think of this again, positioning, naming, branding, messaging. You have to really get that consistency going, and then people leap and make that leap of faith. If you constantly niche, you are much more short-sighted and have a lot of up and down, and not sort of steady growth. And I like steady growth. I love steady growth. That gives me security and stability, and that also lets people really trust year after year. This woman is she's contrarian. She doesn't really fit into the mold, but I can trust her if I also want to break out of,
the mold, away from the mass. Guys, I've opened up a seat if you'd like to join on. I know we got a lot of viewers that are just watching us, several people that are live with us, but we're happy to kind of bring you on and see how things are going. This is the Double Your Business show in 90 days. And so I brought in Sabine, and I know she's kind of shaken up maybe your connotations of some things. So, we've talked about mistakes that you could be making with, the whole concept of an ideal client. We've kind of gone this whole, which I think is a very revolutionary way of designing a business. It shortcuts all the crap. I'm just going to be honest. It shortcuts the crap of you trying to figure all of this stuff out. It gets you very focused very quickly. And so, if you'd like to take one of our open seats, kind of chime in, we'll bring on just one person at a time so we can be focused and have that fun. Don't you love focus? Focus also.
I love that.
And you guys, just a couple of things that Sabine's talked about in the last few seconds when she's like, I track everything in my business. And I don't know if you would have thought that she might have tracked everything in your business.
Oh yeah. Everything. I look at my numbers every day, you guys. I know exactly what my sales are on a daily basis, I don't have to call my bookkeeper to do that.
I love that. It always drives me crazy when people are like, oh, I didn't make as much money this year as I thought I would, and it's December. I'm like, how do you not know that? How I'm like,
you want to look. It's like you want to look at your numbers every day. You want to track your discovery session appointments. You want to find out who signed up and who can I follow up with. What you can measure, you can improve. So this is really, when we're talking soul, we're also talking strategy, because the soul is an intuitive intelligence. It just is not like an airy-fairy thing. It's the real deal, Yeah,
it's what's rooted. We've got the open seat, guys. Go ahead and jump on. I swear we're very nice and friendly. We just like to have fun in our businesses. Right, Sabine?
You wear a really nice necklace like Leslie and I do, right?
It's so funny, but it's part of the brand. That's the kind of, if you looked at all my jewelry, it's part of the brand, but it's who I am too. So that's okay. I can have a lot of fun with that. But, let me ask you, because, the premise of the show is double your business in 90 days. What growth hacking tip might you be able to share with our listeners if they're looking to really impact their business this year? Maybe, we've been sharing what you do, but maybe in your personal experience, what you found just really works.
Yeah, what I'm always coming back to, and I'm happy to share that with your community as well. Because this is something that because I do branding for people. And so therefore, what that oftentimes means is that we have to start from scratch. So whatever that niche business is, I end up kind of like being in that situation where I have to kind of tear down the house before we can sort of rebuild it. And so I often am in the situation where my clients start from scratch with brand new services, a brand new identity, a brand new outlook, right? And they're going for the real deal. And so they are finding themselves in a situation where they don't have an existing client base, or their old client base isn't the right one anymore. And so they're constantly asking, so how do I get going, right? How do I generate brand new income with brand new people and a brand new idea, right? Can anybody relate with that? Yes?
Yes. I'll give you some props. Somebody else give some props for Sabine.
Yes, props for that. Okay, so here's a true universal principle that when you do it right, will always work, guaranteed. It's basically the prosperity wheel. So in order to receive, because the goal for you is you want to receive income, you want to receive new client business, right?
Right.
You want to have things come to you. So think of this as a wheel. So think of good things coming to you. Like literally, like if you can make a movement right now, start like a half circle. Think of a half circle coming to you into your first and second chakra. You know, existential needs, bills met, emotional needs met, feeling of great service and all that. So think of that energy coming, and now bring that upper circle up and think of yourself of giving. So if you want to turn this wheel on of receiving and nothing is coming just yet, then you have to just do this, give. So give from your heart and give generously and freely. So what I always tell my clients is give away complimentary coaching sessions. Don't give away the whole store. I don't want you to sort of sacrifice the work for free. That's the different that's a different energy. When you give something away, give genuinely and generously, and then don't expect necessarily business from that individual, but you can absolutely expect it from the universe at large. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense. You know, we have somebody kind of knocking at our door wanting to come in, so I'm going to welcome Don Kidder-Hagen. We'll give him a few minutes to a few seconds to get on, but it's, Don, is it your first day here? Oh, he popped back off. Hey, if you want to come back on, Don, come on back on. I love having first-timers in here. We are still talking about doubling your business. See you on top, marketer. We were just kind of, chatting a little bit with Sabine about really what she has seen be one of those growth hacking techniques. We've talked about why it's really not about niche, why we get a little too sidetracked trying to chase that ideal client. And we've kind of been talking about really turning things on their head, so to speak, when it comes to how do you position yourself and how to really be able to attract the right people. Yeah, the give to get idea, see you on top, marketers, kind of asking here, it's like the give to get that really works to build business. Well, I think what it does is it sets you in the right framework, in the right mindset. And a lot of people have to get into the fact that you're not going to get cheated. Someone's not going to take away your house, or rip you off, while there might be that person out there, but it really is the value that you're giving to people no matter where they are, because it comes back. It just comes back. It's good karma in a lot of ways.
Yeah. The gift you get, I think what really, for my clients and why it worked for me. This is how I kickstarted my business. And it really works for all of my clients. And they're mostly women coaches and mentors. What is really the killer for us is when we're sitting idle and we don't feel like we are of service. That is just such a surefire way for us to feel worthless and depressed, and then perfectionism kicks in and we're procrastinating and nothing is moving, right?
Right.
So to really get that going, I always recommend, serve someone, help someone, put yourself out there, and then that leads to testimonials, that leads to you feeling good. So the next time you are on a discovery session call, you're much more likely to convert into a paying client. And it's not so much like this give to get in sort of a very sort of direct way. It's more like this moving the energy to get yourself in a receptive state. And that happens by actually giving your expertise generously, right?
Right.
It forces the prosperity wheel by you giving. You're also having to pay attention to receiving. But it only works when you're also making sure that you allow the universe to feed you, to pour back into you.
So, if you're having a little trouble defining everything that we've talked about today, defining really what makes you great, because that's a lot of that ownership. We talked about it, having the confidence, that you are able to give forth and provide for other people. But if you think about this concept that, Sabine has shared, I tell my clients they should have a charity bank book. I have them go, I know hardly anyone uses these anymore, but the old check registers, I have them pull one out. And I just have you put a dollar amount at the top. I don't really care what that dollar amount is. I'm caring about the profitability of your business. I don't want you to give away everything. But if you put a dollar amount in there, and every time you serve somebody, you make a debit in there, you can actually see the good that you're doing. And one of my missions in my business is the fact that I know there are going to be people that cannot afford me. And I know that I can help build businesses so easily that if I come across that person that can't afford me and I can share something, just one little thing that can explode their business, then I'm going to do it every day of the week. And that's part of even our conversation today. There's no fluff. There's absolutely no fluff. I'm not into fluff. I don't have time for fluff. I don't know about you. It's about giving in a strong way. And so, Sabine is so kind to join us today. She's actually on a sabbatical and, wanted to join us. And I thought that was just fabulous. And it just talks about the giving nature of, what business I think moving forward can be about, especially if you are that woman entrepreneur. It's okay to give. Just don't give away the house.
And then another thing too, many of us have this big sort of abyss where we fall into. We have big ambitions, big goals, big dreams. And we also have on the other side big fears, big insecurities, big worries, right? And in between is this big abyss, this big abyss. And to really, I have so many overqualified, highly competent women that are so scared and terrified to make a wrong decision, to move forward. Guys, you are blessed. You don't have that challenge to the degree that most women really, really have that.
Yep.
That's why this prosperity wheel recipe that I'm recommending that you go forward with is so helpful because you're not receiving payment, right? It takes a lot of pressures off the women initially to just kind of like be and go for it and to do something good. But then you have to also make sure that you're smart about it. So then share that you're doing that. Share your successes. Ask for testimonials back or ask for a referral. Even if you're giving something for free, there needs to be an even exchange of energy. While they're not paying you in dollars, they can pay you with an email referral or with a little testimonial. And all of those things will then help you to really get over your own terror barrier. Does that make sense? So you're putting yourself in that receptive state. And that's the key. You always want to take action. Don't ever procrastinate or give yourself over to fear or then rework everything, redo your program. Or it's never
it's good enough. It's good enough. Move along.
Move along.
But it's the most invaluable marketing research that you can do. And I know for a lot of people that do try this, they feel guilty about asking the questions. When I've done this in my own business, I will be in the middle of a coaching session and I will just stop, which would be something I might not always do. And I'll go, that did not work as well as I thought it would. Can you talk to me a little bit about what did I say that had you go there? Or what, you can sense when people shut down. Yes. I'm like, oh, can we take a pause? Because it's also about me being better at what I do.
Exactly. These people give you such a service because they let you see what works and what doesn't work. You are so right, Leslie. Survey Monkey, right? If you want to give a 30-minute complimentary coaching session, then ask them to fill out a Survey Monkey form. Yeah. This is the coolest way for you to really see how you're coming across. You're going to have a recording. You can listen to yourself. And all of these things help move your business forward. So when we're talking about how to double your business in 90 days, this is a surefire way to kickstart into action, whether you have a client book right now, whether you think you are in business or not. This approach lets you get going.
So, we're wrapping up. We're coming to the end of our time, and I know we could talk forever. That's what I love about this. It can be so much fun. But, really kind of wanting to wrap things up. We've talked about so many things in what we have, but I always love those parting thoughts or those words that we just may not have had a chance to cover, because I think sometimes that's when the inspiration and the wisdom really gets shared, as in those parting words. So with that, Sabine, I don't know, what do you have for us as kind of a wrap up? We've had such great time, with all of our people on the chat line. So see you on Top Marketer. I know Amy's here, KA Styles, New York. So many great little businesses out here I've been poking out. Kevin Barnes, let's see who else. I'm scrolling up the line trying to make sure I get everybody. Taylor Dean, CSA, we were having fun, weren't we? Mike Homes.
Top Marketer, you posted that you're creating an online referral system for life coaches. So I'm really happy that we could contribute to this idea of getting the community going, right? Creating a culture of reciprocity. That's really so important. In closing, the one thing that I do want to share about the energies of 2016 is that it is a year for refinement and mastery. So you're going to see this is the year of the fire monkey in the Chinese, year. And what that really means is that it's a year for great opportunities. The monkeys are smart, savvy opportunists, but they can also throw wrenches in there. So if things don't go as planned this year, that's the thing that you can absolutely expect and bank on. Bank on the fact that things will not go in the way that you have planned. And you have to bank on your own intuitive, opportunistic ability to think on your feet. That's the key for 2016. And with that challenge, you're going to actually really, it's a challenge for entrepreneur mastery. So it's all about self-mastery. It doesn't matter what systems you've created, what formulas you've got going on. They're all going to get sort of like, hacked this year in a desperate way. So I'm already preparing myself. I'm volunteering in the sense that I'm hacking my own business to return to a greater level of self-mastery in my embodiment. Does that make sense, you guys?
Makes perfect sense. And I love your description of a monkey. My oldest son was born in the year of the monkey, so he's very excited about this year. He's like, it's my year. It's my year. And it's so true what you were just saying. Great opportunity, man, can throw a wrench in things really quick.
You want to be an opportunistic when you really trust to have that trust in yourself, because otherwise it's just sort of like, it can get shady very quickly. Yeah. So this is an interesting edge that we're riding this year.
Now, if you want to know more about Sabine, I want to make sure, Amy, if you'll post her link again, but it is soulpurposebranding.com. Beautiful website. If you want to see what your marketing website should look like, you have to go over there at soulpurposebranding.com. And then we also have, if you're looking for just more ways to double your business, we have a great free gift, and it is a gift, and it is a huge gift. And it's 169 ways to double your business in the next 90 days. So Amy's going to share that with you as well. As I say with everything I share, if you are in it for the gift, go get the gift. If you don't want to stay, you don't hurt my feelings. Opt out. I'm groovy with that. It is part of that helping you at any level. And I want to make sure that those that are in the community are served well and see a lot of value with the fact that I'm going to talk to you. So if that doesn't seem like something you want, that's okay. Grab the free gift, because it's really the tools that I use with my clients to identify what strategies they're going to use to double their business. So Sabine, love, thank you so much for coming on. I feel like I need to come out to your space and spend some time with a bottle of wine by the poolside.
Anytime, Leslie. You're welcome anytime. And I'm so glad that you had this topic at the beginning of 2016. I really hope it sets you all free to be more of yourself in 2016 and beyond. Thanks so much for the privilege.
Thank you, guys. Now, as always, you can catch the replay over at yourbizrules.com or here on Blab. We are on every Monday, so come back next week at 1:30 Central Time and see what the show might be about then. We're going to continue on really in the theme of all the ways that you can double your business. Thank you so much, Sabine. Love you so much. Thank you, guys, for joining. Thank you for everyone that participated in the chat box. We really had a lot of time, so talk to y'all soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye.